The massive Krelvax battlecruiser drifted silently through the dark expanse of space, its metallic hull gleaming like obsidian under distant starlight. Captain Jihoon Park leaned back in his command chair, his reptilian eyes scanning multiple holographic displays that flickered with navigation data and long-range sensor readings. The Krelvax were not strangers to encountering new species. For thousands of generations they had dominated the galactic ecosystem, crushing any civilization that dared challenge their supremacy. Their exoskeleton armor could withstand direct plasma bombardments, and their regenerative capabilities made them nearly immortal in combat. On this particular day, a small human vessel appeared on their long-range scanners. Most Krelvax commanders would have ignored such a tiny craft, but Jihoon decided to investigate. The ship's design was unlike anything in their extensive database, compact, sleek, with unusual energy signatures that didn't match known technological patterns. "Scan the vessel," Jihoon commanded his navigation officer, a younger Krelvax named Darak. The young officer's claws moved swiftly across the control panel, sending detailed scans toward the mysterious ship. What they discovered was perplexing. The human vessel carried limited weaponry, minimal shielding, and appeared technologically primitive by Krelvax standards. Its size was laughable, something that could be destroyed with a single pulse from their main weapon systems. Inside, the human ship Captain Min-jae Kim stood calmly, watching the Krelvax battlecruiser. He knew exactly what the reptilian species was thinking. They saw humans as weak, insignificant, another potential conquest in their long history of galactic domination. Min-jae's team was different. They weren't explorers or diplomats. They were specialists trained in asymmetrical warfare, selected specifically for this mission. Each crew member carried specialized knowledge that would become their most potent weapon. The communication channel crackled to life. Jihoon's translated voice emerged through the ship's speakers. "Unidentified vessel, you have entered Krelvax territorial space. State your purpose or be destroyed." Min-jae smiled, exactly as they had predicted. "This is Captain Min-jae Kim of the human exploration vessel Horizon," he responded calmly. "We are conducting routine navigational surveys." Jihoon laughed, a harsh, grating sound that translated poorly through the communication system. The laugh was meant to intimidate, to demonstrate the overwhelming power of the Krelvax. "Routine surveys? In our space? Prepare for immediate termination." What the Krelvax didn't know was that this encounter had been meticulously planned. Every movement, every communication was a carefully orchestrated dance designed to gather critical intelligence. Darak continued scanning the human vessel, reporting continuous readings to Jihoon. "Captain, their energy signatures are unusual. I'm detecting multiple layered communication frequencies, something I've never seen before." Jihoon dismissed the observation. "Prepare primary weapon systems. We will demonstrate why no species challenges the Krelvax." Inside the Horizon, Min-jae gave a subtle hand signal. Dr. Yuna Kwan, their lead researcher, began activating a series of complex technological countermeasures. Quantum entanglement systems hummed to life, creating invisible networks that would soon prove devastating. The human ship appeared defenseless. Its exterior showed no signs of advanced weaponry. To the Krelvax, it looked like a simple research vessel that had accidentally wandered into dangerous territory. But appearances can be deceiving. As Jihoon prepared to issue the final destruction command, something unexpected happened. The human vessel's energy profile suddenly shifted. Complex algorithmic patterns began interfering with the Krelvax ship's primary systems. For the first time in generations, a Krelvax battlecruiser experienced a simultaneous systems failure. Min-jae's voice returned over the communication channel, now carrying a hint of something between amusement and warning. "Captain Jihoon, I suggest you reconsider your approach." The first encounter between humans and Krelvax was about to change everything. They knew about galactic warfare. The initial conflict erupted like a silent storm. Seconds after the system's failure, the Krelvax battlecruiser began experiencing cascading technological breakdowns. Alarms blared throughout the massive vessel, red warning lights painting everything in an urgent crimson glow. Captain Ji-hoon realized something was terribly wrong. Their primary weapon systems went offline. Shield generators flickered unpredictably, and communication networks became corrupted with strange digital interference. What should have been a simple destruction of a smaller vessel turned into a nightmare of technological vulnerability. Darak, the navigation officer, frantically tried to restore systems. His clawed hands moved rapidly across control panels, but each attempt resulted in more system failures. "Captain," he shouted, "our defensive networks are being systematically dismantled." The human vessel, Horizon, maintained a perfect distance. It didn't attack with traditional weapons. Instead, it deployed something far more dangerous: intelligent digital warfare that targeted the very core of Krelvac's technological infrastructure. Aboard the Horizon, Dr. Yuna Kwan monitored complex, holographic displays. Each algorithm she had developed was now performing exactly as designed. The Krelvacs relied heavily on interconnected biological technological systems, and her research had identified precise vulnerabilities. "Target their central processing nodes," Minjae instructed calmly. "Disable but do not destroy completely." The Krelvacs had never encountered an enemy that could fight without traditional weaponry. Their entire military doctrine was built on physical superiority: massive ships, regenerative biological armor, overwhelming firepower. They understood combat as a direct, physical confrontation. Humans introduced a new paradigm of warfare: quantum-encoded. Signals began penetrating the Krelvac ship's neural network. These weren't simple hacking attempts, but sophisticated infection algorithms designed to disrupt without total destruction. Each signal carried multiple layers of computational complexity that overwhelmed their defensive systems. Ji-hoon watched, in growing horror as his ship's capabilities diminished. Weapon systems became unreliable, navigation became erratic, and communication channels collapsed. The mighty Krelvac's battlecruiser was being neutralized without a single physical weapon being fired. "How is this possible?" Ji-hoon demanded, his voice a mixture of rage and fear. Darak had no answers. The young navigation officer could only watch as their technological superiority crumbled against an enemy that fought with information, not traditional weapons. The Horizon maintained a strategic distance, continuously broadcasting complex digital signals that further destabilized the Krelvac systems. It was a surgical strike of pure computational warfare. Within minutes, the battlecruiser's offensive capabilities had been reduced to near zero. Critical systems were compromised, leaving them vulnerable and confused. The Krelvac's leadership had always considered biological adaptation their greatest strength, but they were about to learn that technological adaptability could be even more powerful. Minjae's voice returned over the communication channel, calm and calculated. "We offer you an opportunity to withdraw. Continue this engagement, and consequences will be severe." Ji-hoon wanted to reject the offer. Every instinct told him to fight, to demonstrate the might of the Krelvacs. But his tactical assessment showed a harsh reality. They were completely outmatched by an enemy they didn't understand. "Retreat," he finally commanded, the words feeling like poison in his mouth. The Horizon had proven something revolutionary. Technological intelligence could be a more potent weapon than physical strength. They had neutralized a massive battlecruiser without firing a single traditional weapon. As the Krelvac's ship limped away, Dr. Yuna Kwan made careful notes. This encounter would become a critical case study in their ongoing research of interstellar conflict. Humans had just redefined the rules of galactic warfare. The first true battle between humans and Krelvacs had ended, not with explosions or physical destruction, but with lines of complex code and strategic digital intervention, and this was just the beginning. The technological war escalated quickly. Within weeks of the first encounter, human research teams had developed advanced, nano-adaptive weapons specifically designed to target Krelvac's biological systems. These weren't traditional weapons, but precise computational tools that could dismantle entire planetary defenses. Commander Hyun-ju led a special task force dedicated to understanding and exploiting Krelvac's vulnerabilities. His team consisted of the most brilliant minds in biological warfare, computational engineering, and xenological research. They worked around the clock, analyzing every piece of data from the initial encounter. The Krelvax responded with increasing desperation. Their once impenetrable communication networks now felt like glass fortresses waiting to shatter. Each attempt to counteract human technology resulted in more significant system failures. On the research station orbiting Europa, Dr. Yuna Kwan developed what would become known as the quantum viral network. It was a revolutionary system that could simultaneously attack multiple genetic pathways in the Krelvax biological infrastructure. "We're not just fighting a war," Yuna explained to her team. "We're solving a complex biological puzzle." The Krelvax had evolved over millions of years to be the ultimate predators. Their regenerative capabilities allowed them to survive extreme conditions. They could regrow limbs, heal critical wounds, and adapt to most environmental challenges. But they had never encountered an enemy that could hack their fundamental biological coding. Human technology began targeting the most intricate aspects of Krelvax physiology. Nanomachines developed by Hyun's team could infiltrate their cellular structures, causing systematic breakdowns in their regenerative processes. Each intervention was like a precise surgical strike against their entire biological system. Planetary battles became strange, almost clinical affairs. Where previous galactic conflicts involved massive ship battles and direct confrontations, this war was fought with algorithms, quantum signals, and microscopic technological interventions. The Krelvax leadership watched in growing terror as their species began to experience unprecedented vulnerabilities. Entire planetary colonies found their defensive systems compromised. Communication networks collapsed. Biological regeneration became increasingly difficult. What made human technology truly terrifying was its adaptability. Each Krelvax defensive mechanism was quickly analyzed, understood, and then systematically neutralized. The humans weren't just fighting, they were learning and evolving with each encounter. Hyun's task force developed specialized delivery mechanisms for their technological weapons. Microscopic drones could infiltrate Krelvax ships and planetary installations, broadcasting complex computational signals that disrupted their most fundamental biological processes. "We're treating their entire biological system like a complex computer network," Hyun explained during a strategic briefing. "And we're becoming very good at finding and exploiting vulnerabilities." The war wasn't about destroying the Krelvax physically. It was about rendering them unable to function as a cohesive species. Each technological intervention was carefully calculated to minimize total destruction while maximizing systemic breakdown. Krelvax scientists tried to develop countermeasures, but they were always several steps behind. Human technology moved at a pace they couldn't comprehend. What took the Krelvax generations to develop, humans could create in months. Psychological warfare became an unexpected weapon. As the Krelvax realized their technological superiority was an illusion, their collective morale began to collapse. The species that had dominated the galaxy for millennia now found themselves vulnerable and confused. Commander Hyun's final report to Earth's military leadership was chillingly simple. The Krelvax are no longer an evolutionary threat. They are now a species in technological retreat. The technological war wasn't just changing the balance of power in the galaxy. It was redefining what it meant to be an advanced civilization. Humans had proven that intelligence, adaptability, and technological innovation were more powerful than physical strength. As planetary systems fell and Krelvax colonies became increasingly isolated, one thing became clear. The galaxy was about to witness a fundamental shift in interstellar dynamics. The humans were just getting started. The Crimson Nebula glowed with an eerie red light, marking the location of what would become the most critical battle in human Krelvax history. Admiral Seung-Woo Lee stood on the bridge of the flagship Quantum Blade, his eyes fixed on the holographic displays showing the approaching Krelvax fleet. This was no ordinary engagement. The Krelvax had gathered their remaining technological resources, desperate to prove they could still fight. Their fleet looked impressive. Massive ships with intricate biological mechanical hybrid systems that had once struck fear into every known civilization. Dr. Uniquan's latest weapon system was about to change everything. The Krelvax commander, a veteran named Rakor, believed this would be their moment of redemption. His fleet had been modified with experimental defensive technologies, designed to counter the humans' digital warfare techniques. Massive energy shields pulsed around their ships, creating a complex network of protection. "We will destroy them," Rakor announced to his crew, his voice filled with centuries of predatory confidence. But the humans had been preparing for this moment. As the first wave of Krelvax ships approached, something unexpected happened. The quantum adaptive weapon system developed by Una began its silent attack. Instead of traditional weapon discharge, it sent out complex computational signals that began to interact with the Krelvax ship systems. Admiral Sung Woo watched carefully. Each moment was calculated, each signal precisely designed to exploit the smallest vulnerabilities in the Krelvax technological infrastructure. The first signs of trouble appeared quickly. Krelvax ships began experiencing simultaneous system failures. Their advanced biological mechanical shields started to destabilize. Communication networks collapsed in cascading digital waves. Rakor couldn't understand what was happening. His most advanced defensive systems were being dismantled without a single physical weapon being fired. The human ships maintained a strategic distance, their weapon systems seemingly inactive. "Target their primary communication nodes," Sung-woo commanded calmly. Microscopic nano-drones deployed from the human ships, each carrying complex algorithmic payloads. They moved like intelligent dust, infiltrating the most complex systems of the Krelvax vessels. Where traditional weapons would cause destruction, these nanotechnologies caused something far more devastating: complete systemic breakdown. The Krelvax fleet began to drift. Ships that moments ago looked powerful now appeared like massive, dying machines. Their biological components started to fail, their technological systems becoming increasingly unreliable. Una's weapon system was doing more than attacking. It was learning. Each interaction with the Krelvax systems provided valuable data, allowing the computational algorithms to adapt in real time. Rakor's final transmission was a mixture of rage and disbelief. "What kind of weapon is this?" he demanded, watching. His fleet became increasingly disabled. Within hours, the once mighty Krelvax fleet was reduced to a collection of drifting, non-functional vessels. They weren't destroyed. They were completely neutralized. The breaking point wasn't about physical destruction. It was about demonstrating the complete technological superiority of human innovation. Admiral Sung-woo's report was simple and direct. Krelvax primary fleet neutralized. 0 human casualties. Back on the research station, Dr. Uniquan continued analyzing the data. Each battle was another opportunity to understand, to learn, to evolve their technological capabilities. The Crimson Nebula battle would become a turning point in galactic history. The Krelvax, who had dominated the galaxy for millennia, had just discovered that technological intelligence was the most powerful weapon. Humanity had not just won a battle. They had fundamentally changed the rules of interstellar conflict, and this was only the beginning of their journey. The final days of the Krelvax civilization arrived with a silence more devastating than any weapon. Their once mighty planetary systems now stood as empty monuments to a species facing complete extinction. Commander Hyun-ju watched the holographic displays, tracking the last remaining Krelvax colonies. What remained of their civilization was scattered across 3 star systems, each settlement growing weaker by the day. Dr. Uniquan's final weapon system had been devastating. It wasn't designed to kill quickly, but to systematically dismantle the Krelvax ability to survive. Their regenerative capabilities, once their greatest strength, had become their ultimate weakness. On the central Krelvax homeworld, the High Council gathered in their last desperate meeting. Elder Rakor, now a shadow of his former powerful self, looked around at the dying leaders of his species. "We are the apex predators," he whispered, though his voice carried no conviction. "We have always been the apex predators." The humans had other plans. Microscopic nanotechnologies continued their silent invasion, They didn't just attack physical systems, they dismantled the very genetic infrastructure that had made the Krelvax powerful. Each generation became weaker, each colony more isolated. Admiral Sung-Woo Lee monitored the final stages from the Human Command Center. This wasn't about total destruction but complete systematic elimination. The Krelvax would become a cautionary tale in galactic history. Entire planetary systems went dark. Communication networks collapsed. The once mighty species that had dominated the galaxy for thousands of generations was now reduced to scattered, dying colonies. The last transmission from the Krelvax High Council was intercepted by human research teams. It was a simple message that would be remembered throughout human history. We thought we were the apex predators. We were wrong. Yuna's research had proven something fundamental about evolutionary survival. Physical strength meant nothing compared to adaptive intelligence. The Krelvax had relied on biological superiority, while humans had developed something far more powerful, the ability to understand, adapt, and overcome. On the final day, the last Krelvax colony simply went silent. No dramatic explosion, no massive battle, just a quiet fade into extinction. Commander Hyun prepared the final report. It was clinical, precise, almost cold in its simplicity. The Krelvax civilization had been completely neutralized with minimal, human casualties. The galactic records would show this as a turning point. Humanity had not just won a war, they had redefined the concept of evolutionary superiority. Admiral Seung-woo reflected on the journey. What began as a simple exploration mission had transformed into something much larger. The humans had not sought to destroy but to demonstrate a fundamental truth about survival and intelligence. In research stations across human-controlled space, scientists continued studying the Krelvax data. Each piece of information was a lesson, each analysis an opportunity to understand more about galactic ecosystems and survival. The last Krelvax ship drifted silently through space, a final testament to a civilization that had underestimated the most dangerous predator in the universe, human intelligence. Humanity had proven that true strength wasn't about physical power, but about adaptability, innovation, and the relentless pursuit of understanding. The galaxy would never be the same.